University of Idaho students. Fox's Max Gordon.
Kohberger did provide a statement to the New York Times saying over a year later, it is self-evident that in State versus Kohberger, justice was not served.
Kohberger argues he had bad counsel. He's serving 4 consecutive life sentences. Today's show host, Savannah Guthrie, asking, has a new plea as she asked for information about her missing mother, Nancy, addressing those responsible for her disappearance directly on her Facebook page.
I'm asking you, begging you to do the right thing now.
84-year-old Nancy Guthrie disappeared from her Tucson, Arizona home back in January. A tornado touching down in Wisconsin, ripping through an area 90 miles northwest of Milwaukee. America is listening to Fox News.
Some places play football. Virginia Tech lives it.
Touchdown!
In Blacksburg, maroon and orange combine to belt an anthem heard across the mountain.
Fireworks light up the evening sky in Blacksburg.
And on warm autumn nights, the earth will shake beneath your feet.
It's a miracle in Blacksburg. Tyrod did it, Mikey. Tyrod did it.
One stadium, one tradition, one unforgettable experience. Virginia Tech football tickets are on sale now. Visit Hokiesports.com. We'll see y'all in the fall.
When a child is struggling with their mental health, the adults around them can make all the difference. Parents, teachers, coaches, anyone who shows up in a child's life. Because in those tough moments, kids are looking to the grown-ups around them for support.
If you're at school having a bad day, you just don't want to do anything.
I just get these thoughts like, do better. All my little emotions in my head is just running crazy. I don't know what to do.
As a teacher or coach, do you ever feel overwhelmed?
He's just in tears in the huddle. I was like, what's wrong? And he's just like, I'm just so frustrated and I didn't know what to do.
None of my undergraduate studies talked about mental health.
Teachers need tons of help.
That's why the Kids Mental Health Foundation provides free expert-developed tools and resources to help adults support the kids they care about.
Having those resources is the same as the CPR class to me. We're trying to save a life here.
Because when adults feel supported, kids do too. Kids Mental Health starts with us. Find free resources at kidsmentalhealthfoundation.org.
America 250 is a great time to reflect on our country's past, present, and insane savings. BTRN's InsaneRadioDeals.com is celebrating 250 years of America with 25.0% off of everything. This includes savings on great local experiences and services like Aquatrek Adventures scuba classes and Concord Mechanical home maintenance services. The InsaneRadioDeals.com America 250 sale, 25.0% off of our entire inventory. Now until August 1st, you will not want to miss it.
You're stepping into the fast lane on the VTRN Sports app, 93.3 FM and 1320 AM Lynchburg, and asking your smart speaker, open VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the fast lane with Ed Lane and JJ Hendrickson.
Oh, we'll get to it. Don't worry about that. All the folks out there wondering about our takes on Michael Lombardi's potential departure, current placed on administrative leave from the North Carolina football program in a move that was not made by his confidant and boss, Bill Belichick, but by the UNC administration. That will come in the Fast Five at 5-ish. Just wanted to get that out of the way for those that are wondering what's going on, what we're going to say, and all of those fun things. But what was less exciting was the quality of racing this past weekend at the Brickyard 400. Now, the Xfinity race, O'Reilly Auto Parts, Busch Series, pick whatever sponsor you want. They rotate them frequently for NASCAR's version of AAA. That was exciting. But I think you also have to remember there's not quite the level of fine-tuning of cars and study and preparation that goes into that type of a race. It goes a lot. Don't get me wrong. They're working hard. But for whom more money is at stake, which is the NASCAR Cup Series, more resources and efforts are going to be put into it. And right now, the Toyotas, beeping them out, they're not a technical sponsor of ours in the fast lane, of Joe Gibbs Racing in 2311 are clearly, and even Legacy Motor Club, are clearly generating more speed than other cars. Now, what we saw and what we didn't see are as much the storyline as anything. Because even as good as the Toyotas were, it was really a game of follow the leader. Throughout the green flag runs yesterday at the Brickyard 400, there was no passing. And I understand NASCAR going here. God help us if they win here more than once a year. I get from the sense of, hey, got to fit it in somehow. Indianapolis is one of those crown jewel type venues in motorsports. Think, obviously, Daytona for NASCAR fans. It's kind of to IndyCar what that is. Are you a Formula One guy, by the way, JJ?
I am not, Ed. Not a big motorsport guy in general.
So you never got like swept up into the whole Drive to Survive, and therefore you watched the mediocre racing
No,
product.
I
that is
got a
F1?
lot of friends who really liked it, but no, never got swept up in it.
You know, hey, you're starting from scratch. I can respect and deal with that. But the reason for asking that is I don't know what the equivalent of like the pardon the religious expression here. We don't mean to offend anybody. The mecca of basketball is considered Madison Square Garden. I think people would debate in football, but I think it's Lambeau Field in the NFL. College, there are a number of venues. Death Valley, I'm talking the one in Louisiana at night, is probably the one that comes to mind, but you can make a case for a lot of them in college football. I think that's a lot harder to peg down. Basketball, I think there are probably a couple of them. Allen Fieldhouse at Kansas and Duke's Cameron are probably the two that most come to mind in terms of, again, not to be sacrilegious here, but we're using it in sports sense, cathedrals of sports. When it comes to motorsports, there are two of them that I know of, Daytona and Indianapolis. So I get the value of racing at the Brickyard. But that being said, I mean, you're a casual fan of NASCAR, motorsports. And I'm being generous at that, JJ.
Yes, you are.
Would you want to see passing or just follow the leader like single file racing on 221 between Forest and Bedford where there's really not much passing lanes?
Oh, I absolutely would want to see passing. I mean, it's a race after all. Isn't that what we're there for?
Correct. And that's the answer I was hoping you would give. The reason why, though, for asking the question, that answer is diehard fans are going to follow the Brickyard 400 anyway, especially diehard NASCAR fans, but even motorsports, you'll pay attention to it. It's the casual fan. And for the casual fan, to be honest, you probably would have been best served taking in the race the way I did yesterday. I by the way, big props to TNT's NASCAR coverage. Marty Smith, Dale Jr., Jimmy Johnson, and then obviously what they put together in the booth, and Dale Jr. does that as well. But I think they and Amazon have brought really good coverage. And I like NBC's. They'll get it when NASCAR returns after this week, which is a bye week for Iowa and then Richmond in the ensuing races. But there's only so much you could do to jazz up the quality or lack thereof of racing yesterday. Again, not to take away from Corey Heim and his story. We'll get to that in a moment. But the quality of racing, like to the casual fan, that's what you want. And Christopher Bell, in speaking with frontstretch.com, and one of their reporters, Eric Schneck, will join us back half of covering the Commonwealth, but was blunt because he was in second and tried to get to the leader, Corey Heim, got to him a bit, but ultimately he needed a mistake because nobody was passing him.
And then you could get down the pass more there against track.
Nobody was going to pass unless there was a huge mistake.
I love how emphatic Christopher Bell was about passing Corey Heim when he spoke with frontstretch.com. You may not have heard the question as it was asked, but it doesn't matter how fast you were, nobody's passing. Not exactly an endorsement of, hey, this might get better. And then here's even less of an endorsement.
It's been Indy for whatever, it's been 3 years since we've been coming here. The Xfinity cars race really good. The Cup cars, it's just tough. And everybody knows that. It's the same for everybody. So it becomes an execution race. 67, I can execute it well.
It becomes an execution race. That's another way of saying, can you execute on pit road with the right strategy and the right fast pit stops to get out ahead? Because once you're out on the racetrack, there's not much passing. And Christopher Bell's not the only one who said it. Even Carson Hocevar, more on him in a moment with Corey Heim, because he had a funny incident. Childish, but let me rephrase it. Maybe not funny. Entertaining incident. Carson Hocevar had this to say about passing when he spoke with Bob Pockrass after the race.
Yeah, it's just obviously really difficult to pass. I felt like I either need more draft down the straightaway, or we need more draft down the straightaway so we can IndyCar it and get a bigger run and turn left on somebody if you get a little bit of a run, or we need to slow down way more in the corner and be able to, kind of get off the bottom or something. But I don't know what that is. At times I'm like, I'm going to get a run, and I just run on a straightaway.
That's not exactly encouraging. So you have two different drivers in emphatically speaking about the difficulty of passing. Again, I get going to the Brickyard for one race because it's deemed to be a crown jewel, and you want to find a way to rope it into the rotation. But for a NASCAR racing product that actually is pretty good on intermediates, it's not very good at this particular venue, and it never really has been. I don't know. I know it's the Brickyard 400. Shorten the thing up to 300 and call it a day. I know that will upset people, but Kyle Larson spoke about it over the weekend because he was criticized and he got into one of the IndyCar drivers. And again, to get my usher on, I can't exactly remember which one of the IndyCar drivers. I think it was Connor Daly, but I'm not totally sure. If you're listening and want to add us, Fastlane Ed Lane is an easy way to go about doing that. But Kyle Larson had this to say about shortening races as potentially being a solution at the Brickyard and at other venues.
Well, I'll start off by saying, yes, I agree that a lot of our cup races are too long. I just think the way that the world has kind of gone, and how people consume sports, I definitely think our races are too long. I think 3 hours is too long. Yeah, but as far as a nap, I don't know. So it doesn't really bother me, but I agree with what he was saying.
He agrees. For you, shorter races might help if there's a heightened sense of urgency. Would that give you more cause as a casual observer to tune into shorter races, JJ, than longer races where, especially yesterday, you can just go, like I did at my mom's house. I just had the race on in the background, put it on mute, and then I'm like, 5 laps to go. Let's turn the volume on and see what's going on.
Yeah, I do think shorter races would definitely help because, like you said, at the end of the day, I mean, my dad kind of says the same thing about basketball. The only thing that matters is the last 5 minutes. I don't necessarily agree with that, but to have the exciting part of the race take up a larger portion of it, I don't see what the harm would be for viewership. I mean, people want to see the exciting parts. Let's give them more of the exciting parts.
And not just that, you're fast forwarding it. And I think when you have shorter races, I do think this is one of the reasons why the Truck Series and the insert your version of NASCAR's AAA Series, whatever sponsor name you want to throw at it, why they generate exciting racing. The fewer laps / miles there are in the event, like this is basic math here. If I can figure this out, then they should be able to, and most people should. The fewer laps / miles in an event, the less time there is for you to, pardon my language, but mess around, screw around, not put your best foot forward. The urgency meter intensifies. You know you're near the end. And I think there's always that effect in almost every sport. Back 9 at Augusta National or a golf event. 2-minute warning or even the fourth quarter of a football game. Basketball, you're at the under 4 timeout in college basketball, similar version of the NBA. Like, the intensity is going. 8th, 9th inning of a baseball game. Single-digit minutes left in a hockey game. Heading towards stoppage time in soccer. Did we check all the boxes off, by the way, for events?
Yeah, I think that's all of them.
I think there's an element of that enhances the entertainment value of the sport. And in this day and age, I don't even view the Brickyard as enough of a holy grail race to deserve keeping 400 miles if the quality of racing is not good. And it wasn't yesterday. Again, Southern 500 at Darlington historically is that way, but the racing's generally pretty solid at Darlington. Daytona 500. Naturally, it's going to be that way, even if it's kind of running around in circles. Coke 600, the World 600, Memorial Day. I know it's test man and machine. I know machines have gotten a lot better, so it's not as big of a test as it used to be. But I understand that. Mike Neff of FrontStretch.com is probably going to fight me on Wednesday when he joins us from the Redneck Riviera because he's a fan of longer races. But I am a shorter races type guy because you will get more people in. And if anything, if you've got a boring race, at least if it's shorter, it's going to feel like there's more urgency.
Yeah, so would you say the biggest thing that's causing this hesitation for more shorter races is tradition and history in NASCAR?
I think that's part of it. But in fairness, I also think it's reasonable to say some of it is television because the longer the race, the more inventory they have that they can sell. And the more inventory they have they can sell, the more they can justify paying the money to NASCAR. And like everything in sports and business, it does ultimately circle back down to
dollar bills, y'all.
As Kenny Powers likes to remind us. So To answer your question, that's the case. Now, the storyline itself, I thought was actually really cool. First of all, we referenced Carson Hocevar and Corey Heim. Throw in Ty Gibbs as well, my guy, who looked like he might have won this race. He was in the lead, but then got thrown off on the pit sequence back in 12th, and we told you how difficult passing was. He finished in 12th. Like, there wasn't anything that was happening after that last caution instead of pit stops. But in the early portion of the race, Carson Hocevar and Corey Heim, who also have their own form of beef, got into it a little bit. Apparently, Heim kind of brake checked on whether he was going to pit or not. Same thing with Hocevar. One pitted, one didn't. But when Heim elected to go down pit road and Hocevar didn't, Hocevar, well, he said that his favorite player was a guy that has ties to Indiana, Mr. Bird.
That's a good question. I'm not too sure. I was blocking him, not really too bad, I thought. I mean, I was trying to just hold my position, and I never threw like a bad block. I was just trying to protect my entry, and he didn't like it, but he lost and I won, so I don't really care.
I like that. He lost, I won, so I don't really care. Kind of juicy. I'm not advocating for flicking off your competitors, especially to parents of youth sports athletes out there. We don't need to be doing that, kids. But a little spice in the professional rivalries where they are grown-ups, again, it kind of irritates me because I like the role model principle. But it does add to the rivalry. And there's kind of the, I'm getting in trouble with this from our guy, Coach Kennedy of Impact Church, the have your sin and eat it too. But there's kind of that when it comes to this. I'm using in the sports. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I'm a fan of flipping people off. But I will say when you create a level of rivalry and there's clearly a lack of friendship, it does make you tune in and adds to the level of intrigue if it is kept in check within reason.
Yeah, as a casual viewer, I mean, just hearing you talk about that makes me more interested in the story. Anytime there's drama between two guys, some bad blood boiling, that's what makes me want to tune into sports. I mean, you think about all the great rivalries in sports, what we like is the bad blood. So, like you said, to an extent, you want them to be role models, but I like this. I like a bit of spice in the sport.
I do too. It's fun. It's cool and it's exciting. Meanwhile, the spice also comes from the fact that, like, this guy, Corey Heim's really good. He's running a part-time schedule this year, but he's won a couple of Truck Series championships to my guy, Ty Gibbs. If he and Ty Gibbs did not have a feud, Heim, who has driven Toyota for his tenure in NASCAR, would probably be at Joe Gibbs Racing. Let's call a spade a spade. But he's not, and Chase Briscoe isn't. Briscoe's acquitted himself fairly well, so I get it. Briscoe made the final four of NASCAR's playoffs last year, and he won races in the process. He's been a more than adequate driver, but maybe not elite. But Chase Briscoe wouldn't be in there. It'd be Corey Heim, who's deemed by many to be a once-in-a-generation prospect. Instead, Heim is running part-time because Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin, 23XI Racing, are not yet ready, or we're not, when planning for this season, we're not yet ready to add a third full-time car. So Riley Herbst has run a little bit. Corey Heim has run some. Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick are their full-time drivers. Wallace, let's be real, he's underachieved a bit this year, but he brings a lot of sponsorship. Reddick, not on that level, but Reddick, he's won 5 races this year, including the first 3 in a row. So he's been good. And his victories have gotten Michael Jordan into the spotlight, including the 60 Minutes piece or CBS This Morning or whatever it is. So there's that. Then you factor in the element of Heim, who's already won twice in a part-time capacity, granted a pretty high-end ride, and the manufacturer that's got the most speed in NASCAR, but clearly seems to have a mature presence about him.
Man, it's been a heck of a few years really leading up to this point. So really just, I know everyone dreams about being able to do this and to be able to execute today and just do everything right and beat a lot of guys that haven't done it before and wanted to kiss the bricks today is a really cool feeling.
Understands that people are gunning for him. And here's the other thing. Joey Logano had this to say with Bob Pockrass after the race. Pockrass is with Fox Sports, by the way, for clarification. But Joey Logano had this to say about Heim. And Logano's won a couple of NASCAR championships. And a lot of people called Logano sliced bread. Like the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's kind of what his nickname was back in the day. Here's Logano's praise for Corey Heim. Different team, different manufacturer, but not holding back optimism.
Yeah, he's got it. We're going to be battling him forever. He'll be here longer than me. He's a lot younger than me, but he'll be here the whole time.
just a solid race car driver. Does the right things, doesn't get over his skis, doesn't get nervous, doesn't look like. He just executes really well. I don't know how old he is, and he's fairly young, but he's not like he's a teenager anymore. It's like he's got some good experience and good head on his shoulders. And he's got fast race cars right now, and they capitalize. So, yeah, good for him.
Corey Heim just turned 24, July 5th. Basically splits my wife and my twins' birthdays, by the way. But Joey Logano, high praise for Corey Heim. He's going to be here a while, a lot longer. We're going to be contending for them for a while. I think that's the thing when you view a driver in his trips to victory lane as not going to be the case every week, but it's inevitable that he's going to be there. That is high praise as well. Meanwhile, high praise, not quite in the form of a Super Bowl, but the best alternative, it's a story we missed last week, but used to kick off.
It's time for Fast Five at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kinda ish. Let's start with number 5.
So the Carolina Panthers and the city of Charlotte are tag teaming for $1.3 billion in stadium renovations and upgrades to the Panthers Stadium down in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's not Farmers Bank of Appomattox Stadium. It's another bank. So we're just going to call it another stadium down in Charlotte. Not Farmers Bank Stadium. But Roger Goodell was down there and dodged David Tepper, the Panthers owner, suggesting that the city should be considered for a Super Bowl. These upgrades do not make this facility a domed venue, which is one of the prerequisites. Not to mention the fact that the ACC championship game has been moved from a Saturday night to a Saturday at noon game in early December for football because it's often rainy, musty, misty, and cold in Charlotte during the winter months. It's not immune to typical winter weather. But Roger Goodell offered a suggestion, the NFL draft. I tend to believe that in places like Cleveland, Buffalo, we already know about Washington, Charlotte as well. If you're investing in stadium upgrades and or a new stadium to get more luxury suites, to get more public financing for privatized profits, which the NFL can share amongst its 32 owners, Roger Goodell is going to use that as a reward. Can't give you the Super Bowl, but we'll give you the NFL draft, which is the next best thing, and brings about 800,000 or so people to a given city, as it seems to be kind of the growing average from places like Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Philadelphia, Tennessee, Dallas, and others in recent memory.
Yeah, I do like that Goodell's willing to give them the draft. I mean, Charlotte, it's not the biggest market in the NFL, let's be real, and the stadium isn't stellar, but to have the draft there, it's going to bring attention to the franchise, and at the end of the day, that's what they want. They want attention, they want money, and the draft's not going to bring, obviously, the same extent as the Super Bowl, but that will definitely bring some of both of those to the city.
Speaking of the NFL, more on this with Madam President of Bowie TV Sports, Candy Waller, who will join us in the back half of part 1 of covering the Commonwealth. But
number 4,
the Washington Commanders issued a press release at the beginning of the day. We are parting ways with tight ends coach Ben Steele. The team will have no further comment at this time. Clearly something happened. And sure enough, it was reports. Now it's according to public record in Virginia. Former Commanders tight end coach Ben Steele was arrested on suspicion of driving while intoxicated on June 7th in Loudoun County, according to Virginia court record. Once again, you are in a highly lucrative profession. You have plenty of
dollar bills, y'all.
And yet you are driving intoxicated. It is your latest reminder, and this did occur in Virginia, where Trost Law can serve you. There are people out there that make these poor decisions despite their lucrative financial situations. And I'm not saying that we're all saints in the world, but this is the rideshare era where your excuses have been mitigated. Pay $100 for rideshare premium hours versus $10,000 plus for legal services, not to mention the damage and harm it could cause. I think if you're the Commanders, not to mention it's the tight ends coach, not the head coach or higher position coach, seemed like an easy call.
Yeah, I agree. He must have been hanging out with Tony Romo some as that was going on. But look,
swapping inside info.
Looking at the tight end staff, I mean, with Okonkwo, Bates, and Sinnott, they've got not even 3,000 receiving yards combined between the three of them. So this is a very underexperienced staff, and having to get a new tight end coach this close to training camp makes me a little nervous for the Commanders. But at the end of the day, with an offense like this, I feel like he had to go.
He did. We'll get into that a little bit more with Candy Waller, Madam President of Bowie TV Sports, in just a bit. But speaking of probably going,
Number 3.
I do want to get more information before fully commenting on this, but North Carolina GM Michael Lombardi, who, look, in full disclosure, friend of ours here in the Fast Lane, he's been great to us, but by all accounts, hasn't shown that level of quality in terms of the ability to interact with people in Chapel Hill. He has now been placed on paid leave, effective immediately, and this was released not by the UNC football or athletics department, but instead by UNC, the school's vice chancellor for communications and marketing, Dean Stoyer. I think inevitably he's probably not going to end up having a job here. It's deemed to be, quote, an HR issue, end quote. I mean, look, again, we've defended Lombardi. This is going to be hard for us to defend. This does not look like a good look. We will dig more into this. Dave Glenn of the North Carolina Sports Network slated to join us tomorrow. He's got a legal background. He knows about the heels as well. He'll give us the latest on this development. But again, got to fall on the sword on this one. For as much as we've praised Michael Lombardi for being a guest of ours in prior times in the Fast Lane, it's hard to come back from HR situations, especially when you're talking at a school like North Carolina or any college-based environment. I don't know what it is. I'm sure more info will come out for you and all of the investigative reporting that circles Carolina in particular, given, let's be real, 33rd franchise, another blunder from Lombardi's, but self-inflicted mistakes, it will come out. Again, Lombardi's had some good moments. This tenure in North Carolina from start to finish has not been one of them.
Yeah, you took the words straight out of my mouth, Ed. In this day and age, if you have an HR issue, especially at the college level, I don't really see a world where he's going to come back from that unless some kind of lies or falsehoods get exposed. Not a good look for Lombardi as a whole. He hasn't been great at UNC, and we might see the end of his tenure now, I think.
Meanwhile, on the other side, the beginning of
Number 2.
Unionization, possibly. It's worth mentioning this, and we'll try to delve deeper a little bit later in the Fast Lane because we had a great conversation with UVA General Manager Justin Sparrows. Those comments are up at Fastlane Ed Lane on Twitter and Instagram. But Stanford football players have established the first chapter of the College Football Players Association in a move that is designed to create the foundation for more unionization and collective bargaining in college football. I'm surprised players actually are doing this. I think there are a lot of them. I'm surprised. I would think a lot of them don't want this because they have a free market every year. Granted, agents are raking them over the coals more on those sides of the equation. Again, I'm not generally pro-union. I know I'm getting political for a moment. I'm not generally pro-union in most things in the non-sports world. But in sports, to repeat what we've said before, it streamlines and makes things more efficient and gets you through a lot of other problems, which we'll get to in a moment.
Yeah, if that's what it's going to do, I don't really see any downsides to it. Efficiency, especially in this college athletic landscape, we don't really have much of it, I feel like, or much of a process at all. So if this results in more of that, I think it will be a positive for the sport as a whole, or sports as a whole.
Meanwhile, speaking of unions,
Number 1.
just an interesting nugget because Detroit Tigers pitcher Tarek Skubal, who is arguably the prize if somebody could get him at the trade deadline. On the one hand, if you're Detroit, he's a Scott Boras client, so he's probably heading to free agency. That's the equivalent of Jimmy Sexton in college football. They go to free agency, they go to market every year to get pay raises across the board. It is what it is. But if you're the Tigers, you like to trade them, but if you're a trading team, how much are you willing to give up? Because who knows how the new collective bargaining agreement is going to unfold in baseball. He might be a more expensive one-year rental, especially if, again, I think we're going to lose games next year, just how many. But if there's any kind of salary cap structure, whether it's a firm cap or it's the NBA version with the first and second aprons, can you afford to keep a guy like that around over the long haul? Even if you're the Dodgers or the Yankees with more revenue streams, I think teams are going to face that. It just makes for an interesting dilemma at the trade deadline.
Yeah, out of curiosity, I looked up what about he's projected to get, and it said between $350 and $400 million between a 7 to 10 year stretch. It's about a $50 million annual average value. The Tigers, the biggest contract they've given in team history to Miguel Cabrera in 2014, which was $248 million, 8 years. So if they wanted to re-sign Skubal, they would have to sign upwards of $100 million more than the biggest contract they've ever given out. And if they add a salary cap to that, it's not going to be good for Detroit. Really tough situation. I would not want to be in that position.
It's tough for them. It's also tough for teams acquiring because you're kind of projecting potential cost, and you may be giving up a lot for a one-year rental piece in your franchise with no guarantee of an extension and highly unlikely given Scott Boras generally does not do those. When we return in the Fast Lane, we do Covering the Commonwealth, JMU with Katie Harper, UVA with Jerry Ratcliffe, and the Washington Commanders. News that broke today with Candy Waller of Bowie TV Sports. All still to come here in the Fast Lane.
Lunchtime just got an upgrade. Stop by Makadu for our $8.95 weekday special and grab a legendary sandwich at an unbeatable price. Choose from your favorite classics to Coney Island, Betty Bop, Ragtime, or Stogie. Classic sandwiches packed with savory meats and flavors in between fresh bread. Make it a meal by pairing your sandwich with a sidekick, a warm cup of soup, or crispy chips. Great food, cozy vibes, and the best deal in town.
It's time to share great food and fun. Just to be there, the only one. Just to be there at Market Dues.
We'll see you at the dues.
Learning for your family isn't just a school year thing. This summer, teach smart money habits that last a lifetime. Open a youth or basic savings account at Farmers Bank and help build a strong financial future from the start. It's simple, safe, and a great way to turn small savings into big opportunities. Stop by our Timberlake Road location or any Farmers Bank branch and open an account today, because good habits start early, and we're here to help them grow.
Hey, small to medium business owners, if you're frustrated with slow IT support, high costs, or paying for services you just don't use, it's time for a change. Hi, I'm Colt with We Fix Stupid Computers. We provide reliable on-site and remote support tailored for businesses just like yours. And we go beyond just fixing problems. We empower your staff with real tech knowledge so they can work smarter every day. From repairs to training to full IT support, we save you time, stress, and money. Call We Fix Stupid Computers, 434-525-8590, where smart support meets real savings.
Tired of juggling 5 different numbers for your home's essential systems? Concord Mechanical is your true one-stop shop. From high-efficiency equipment sales and precision installation to proactive maintenance and emergency repairs, the Concord Mechanical will handle it all. Whether you're upgrading your HVAC, fixing a water heater, or seeking seasonal tuning, their expert technicians deliver seamless service under one roof. Save time, eliminate stress, and keep your home running perfectly year-round. Call today or visit theconcordmechanical.com to schedule your service.
Come join the chat or give us a piece of your mind. JJ Hendrickson 27 and Fastlane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
She is covering the JMU Dukes, and she's filling in for Shane Metlin admirably. We already know it'll be good. To kick off part 1 of
It's time for your teams and topics. Covering the Commonwealth. A look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with
shocker,
the JMU Dukes.
Katie Harper, DNRonline.com, is with us here in the Fast Lane. She's at Katie Harper, that's Katie with a C, on Twitter to keep up with her work. Katie, great to be speaking with you. The JMU Dukes still projected to win the Sun Belt East, even though about half the roster is turned over. They've got a new head coach in Billy Napier. What is your assessment of the JMU Dukes big picture as they get ready to commence fall camp in another week or so?
I think it's just about that. There is an expectation around the program that they're going to win early and often and hopefully be back in that, not only just be back in that Sun Belt title game come December, but be hosting it again this year under Billy Napier.
You have an article up. JMU football has faith in a new look offensive line. We highlight that because when you're breaking in a new quarterback, you've lost one of your top running backs. They get George Pettaway back, but they lost Wayne Knight, who followed Bob Chesney to UCLA. It would seem the offensive line is going to be looked to be the stabilizing force. They seem confident in it. Are you as confident as the coaching staff happen to be?
I think so. Having seen them out at spring practice, it's a very big group, and they're all very tall, and they fit that build of being an FBS offensive line. And I think it's hard to ignore what they're capable of when the coaching staff is as pleased with them and as hopeful as they are with that group. And it all kind of starts with center Zach Greenberg coming back for another season and his leadership, along with Tyler Brown, who's very familiar with the coaching staff despite being new to JMU. It's just a really interesting group to see come together, but I think there is a lot of reason to be confident in what they can do.
Katie Harper on Twitter, that's Katie with a C. She's also at DNRonline.com, and she is joining us today in the Fast Lane. We are at Fast Lane Ed Lane on all of our socials and however you listen to podcasts if you have not joined us live on the VTRN Sports app. You had a great point in your most recent Purple and Bold podcast with Shane Metlin about Davi Belfort being the one quarterback that has transitioned away from that position off of the quarterback spot. So now you've got a three-person battle going into fall camp. What does that development say about what you believe the coaching staff at JMU would like to see and what they are emphasizing heading into that first fall practice?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is tied to that offensive line with how tall that group has gotten. You need a quarterback that can see over them and can play over them. And that isn't to discredit Davi Belfort, but he's listed on the roster at about 5'10" when Camden Coleman is 6'3", Arrington Maiden is 6'3", and JC Evans is pushing 6'5". There was just a clear difference in kind of the size there. So I think the coaching staff is placing an emphasis on wanting a big quarterback that is capable not only in the passing game, but can also, spread the game out and run when they need to as well.
Phenomenal insight from Katie Harper with a C. We say that because Katie Harper is the Twitter handle, and that's Katie with a C. She's also at dnronline.com, and we're at Fastlane Edlane. However you want to get at us. Katie, thank you for pinch hitting for Shane Outland today in the Fast Lane. He has now been forewarned his fight might be in jeopardy.
Thanks for having me.
Now to UVA.
JerryRatcliffe.com founder and contributor, Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. Hootie, great speaking with you. Virginia had their football media day Friday for all the people that were not in Charlotte, which is the majority of the coaching staff. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe you agree or disagree. I thought the star of Friday was GM Justin Sparrows. He came across very sharp, very well prepared, and somebody that seems like he would give Cavalier fans a lot of faith that in terms of roster construction, they've got a guy who knows what he's doing.
Well, yeah, I agree. And Justin's very sharp. And he and Tyler Jones, who left, who was the former general manager and was plucked by Stanford to come out and help run things out there, worked so well together. And I think Justin learned a lot under Tyler and has picked up exactly where they left off a year ago and brought in a second really good transfer portal class. Justin works tirelessly, and he's on top of every movement that's made by the NCAA or anybody else concerning the rapid changing times of college football. So, I've always been impressed with him and continued to be during Friday's event.
How much more did he show you and those of us with whom he spoke about the ability to really kind of sift through a lot of the, let's just call it BS, a lot of the stuff that goes into trying to acquire a modern player, what's real and what's not?
Yeah, I mean, he cuts to the chase. He doesn't throw a lot of bull feathers around. He lets you know exactly what the process is and explains things in simple terminology so the regular fans don't get bewildered by all the technicalities of the portal and NIL and all that stuff. So he has a really good grip on it and has a knack for being able to explain it and break it down. And again, he is so sharp. He stays in tune with every move that's made, and they change the goalposts, it seems like, every month. So he has to be pretty sharp just to stay up with all that.
Someone who is very sharp is Jerry Ratcliffe. Just put a .com to get his analysis as he's with us here in the Fast Lane. Hootie, last one for you. Were you as aware the level of competition that Virginia faced and ultimately held off to acquire their starting quarterback, Beau Pribula?
I knew it was pretty hotly contested. Justin, as you pointed out, clarified it and noting that he made 6 trips in 7 days, some cross country, before making his decision. And ultimately it apparently came down to Virginia and Tennessee, which was in sort of a quarterback bind, as was Virginia at the time, not knowing whether Chandler Morris was going to return or not. So, I knew it was hotly contested. I knew Washington was involved. I think Vanderbilt, Tennessee. I'm not sure all the schools, but he was all over the map in trying to decide where to play. And Virginia was lucky to come up with him because he was late in the portal process, in terms of choosing a school, and with a lot of people trying to land him. I think this guy, the more I found out about him Friday from quarterback coach Taylor Lamb and running backs coach Keith Gaithers and Des Kitchens, the offensive coordinator, I think this guy might have been undersold a little bit. I think he might shock a few people with his ability to move the football.
Jerry Ratcliffe with us here in the Fast Lane. Hootie, thank you for your time and insight. It was good seeing you this past Friday. Just wait. It's only a couple of weeks before you'll be seeing me again for the NC State Week 0 game.
Enjoyed it, Ed. It's always nice sitting down and talking to you.
Now to, just for you haters, left hand up the Commanders.
Well, it seemed like it was going to be a relatively uneventful start to training camp for the Washington Commanders. And then today happened. Washington Commanders parting ways with tight ends coach Ben Steele, as now information has come out that he was arrested June 7th. Public records have shown that. In Loudoun County, Virginia, we, of course, remind you that's why you need Trost Law on your side in case you're involved in a situation or the victim of someone who has been driving under the influence of alcohol. We have to get that disclaimer out of the way. Candy Waller, Madam President of Bowie TV Sports, with us here in the Fast Lane. Seawall, first of all, always glad to catch up with you. We pray you and your family are well. Second of all, you have a level of insight into this. I don't normally do this. It's not the right talk show thing to do, except in a spot like this. Blank canvas on this development.
Yeah, I mean, and I hope you all can hear me. I am traveling the highways and byways out to Ashburn now, actually. And so this was an interesting development that happened. What I can share is I know I had not seen Coach Steele in a while, or I guess I should just go with Ben Steele now. I had not seen him. And when the Commanders, when we had our media availability with the offensive coaches, I had asked about Coach Steele, and, the response back was he had a conflict because he was not present, and that was definitely one of the coaches I, of course, wanted to speak to because he was new to the team. But I just still never saw him after that. I asked for our photographer to capture a picture of Wes Welker working with the tight ends because during mandatory minicamp, that is what I consistently saw. And I said, well, wait a minute. Coach Steele is still not here. And Wes Welker has been working a lot with the tight ends. So it was one of those things where it was a use your clues moment. Okay, something really is not right here. And and a number of things could happen, right? Someone could be ill or something could have happened. But now we know exactly where Ben Steele was, given that he was out and now no longer with the team.
That answers a lot of questions in terms of this. For the Washington Commanders, this happened back in June. They acted on it today. Was this a matter of waiting for the legal system to go through its process? What's the gap between when this news broke over a month ago and now the announcement coming out on the heels of training camp beginning?
I think it was a little bit of both. The legal system doing what it needed to do, and just the reality that he wasn't going to return, and they need a coach there for training camp. And since this wasn't all cleared up, buttoned up before training camp, hey, you got to part ways with them, especially with, something of this nature. This team has very high standards on and off the field for all of their staff, not just players. So if they want to continue to lead by example, then they had to make a move like this before training camp.
We must bring this up on two fronts with Candy Waller, Madam President of Bowie TV Sports. One front is this. You mentioned the high standards. How much of the Washington Commanders making this move, even if it puts them in a very competitive, precarious spot, is an effort to continue to show their fan base and everyone around the NFL and the sports and life world that this is not being run the same way as it was previously?
I think it's 110% that, Ed. This is just not the previous culture. It is not. They are going to act promptly, and maybe, because this wasn't necessarily prompt. Of course, there are going to be members of the media like myself and others that are going to say, okay, Coach Steele still is not here. we're going to Google them or we're going to see what's going on, and we could have found out. So it was, needing to get ahead of it before it did become a thing, and also a distraction for training camp. They also mentioned that they will not have any further comment. Again, that goes back to the notion of not having to answer a bunch of questions from, all of us with the media, and wanting it to just be done over with and focusing on football. So I definitely think that this is a sign yet again of, hey, this is not the old regime. This is not the old ownership group or just the old culture overall. This is a new day, continue to be a new day in Ashburn.
Candy Waller, Madam President, Bowie TV Sports, with us in the Fast Lane. Seawall, thank you for joining us today in the Fast Lane. We'll get to the next question about how all this impacts the Commanders next week, as we will be in the throes of looking at what's going on the field in Ashburn.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.
Our boots on the ground in D.C., Madam President, Bowie TV Sports, Candy Waller with us here to wrap up part one of covering the Commonwealth. When we return, Hill City Howlers, also NASCAR, and Virginia Tech. Still to come here in the Fast Lane.
Mark Dalton here with the Terry Auto Group. If you don't love your car, then you're simply just driving the wrong one. At Terry Volkswagen, Terry Subaru, Terry Auto Outlet, and the Terry Clearance Center, we've got the perfect new or used car for you. We make your car buying experience easy. Need help with imperfect credit? No problem. Our team works hard to get you approved and back on the road. Because when you shop at Terry, you drive away happy. Visit us at any of our 4 locations or online at terryautogroup.com. Terry Auto Group. You'll love our cars.
Big transitions feel like big hurdles. That's why Central Virginia Counseling has 2 dynamic 6-week summer groups for rising 6th and 9th graders packed with essential life skills. Each week targets a new skill for success, tools like organization, time management, task initiation, anxiety reduction techniques, and skills for making friends and communicating well. Through peer connection and expert guidance, students will gain tools to feel capable, connected, and ready for day one. Visit us on Timberlake Road or Wigington Road in Lynchburg, or at centralvirginiacounseling.com to learn more.
When you walk into Haley's, you see the size and selection of a big box store. Over 19,000 square feet of appliances and mattresses. Leading appliances like KitchenAid, Whirlpool, Maytag, Genair, Speed Queen, GE, and Monogram. And mattresses like Sealy, Serta, and Tempur-Pedic. So what's the difference? A family, locally owned business. And a staff committed to servicing you over the entire life of the product. That means before, during, and well after your purchase. Visit Haley's today, just off Ward Road in Lynchburg. Haley's, quality that counts.
America 250 is a great time to reflect on our country's past, present, and insane savings. BTRN's InsaneRadioDeals.com is celebrating 250 years of America with 25.0% off of everything. This includes savings on great local food options like the Briar Patch, McAdoo's, Oliver's 801 Raw Bar, Tacos Los Amigos, Caribbean Jerk Pot, and many more. The InsaneRadioDeals.com America 250 sale. 25.0% off of our entire inventory. Now until August 1st, you will not want to miss it.
Come join the chat or give us a piece of your mind. JJ Hendrickson 27 and Fastlane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Well, we're back here in the Fast Lane. Meanwhile, speaking of being back, are the Hill City Howlers back? It has not been a full-fledged weekend of domination, but they've continued to make improvements. They split with Delmarva over the weekend. They had a big emotional victory, stunning Delmarva on Saturday as well. Somebody who can tell us more about that kicks up part 2 of
It's time for your teams and topics. Covering the Commonwealth, a look at teams and topics from around the Commonwealth. Let's start with the Hill City Howlers.
They knocked off Delmarva 8-4 on Saturday night. Ryan DeSanto, a gem, pitching 6 1/3 innings worth of work. Longest outing of the season and 5 strikeouts in the victory. 8-4 for the Hill City Howlers. How big was that performance, Jason, for Hill City this past Saturday?
Yeah, Ed, I think it was a huge game for the Howlers. You had just lost 3 straight, especially on a doubleheader in that game 1 where you really should have won the game. And then after that, things just kind of spiraled. They slipped out of the way, and next thing you know, you were dropping 3 straight. So that Saturday game was a huge game for Hill City, and Ryan DeSanto stepped on the mound. He pitched extremely well. He was efficient. He was quick. And it was just a fun game, and the offense came to life. I mean, really, this whole week, the lineup was clicking from top to bottom. And you look at the standings right now, Howlers are only 5 games back from a playoff spot with over a month left to go in the season. They're playing the second-place team in the Carolina League North in Fayetteville this week. So, I mean, the cards are on the table. There's a chance for the Howlers to make a run with a good week here. They'll wrap up the season against first-place Salem and the beginning of September. So there's a lot to be excited about right now for Hill City and still a lot to play for.
How big was that victory against Delmarva on Sunday? The fact that it gave them a series split and, all the momentum of struggling to get series victories. Now it feels like, from my, less educated perspective than yours, like they're in a spot where they go, all right, now we're in this thing and we can get some momentum going.
Yeah, I think it's something that they can build upon. They just got some fresh faces in today. And so there's a lot to be excited about. Winning on Sunday is always a good feeling. You want to hit a road trip with some momentum. You never want to go in feeling negative, feeling down, feeling like your backs are against the wall. And the Howlers get to go on the road trip excited, having won 10-6. They put 10 runs on the board. And other than a little bit of a rough ninth inning where the team let off the gas a bit, they were dominant. That game was never in doubt. There was no question about it. And that's how you want to hit the road trip. And so if you're going to be going to take on Fayetteville, who's in second place right now, you wanted to have a game like that. So that was a huge victory. Great to get that split, and you're still right in it.
Jason Pro, broadcaster, Hill City Howlers, with us here in the Fast Lane. Jason, momentum, especially offensively. How much are the Hill City Howlers, almost cursed there, caught myself at just the last second. How much are the Hill City Howlers carrying that offensive momentum starting tomorrow at Fayetteville?
Yeah, I think it's been the offense that has carried us, and I have to speak extremely highly of guys like Rainer Herrera, who just arrived a few weeks ago and have been absolutely crushing the baseball. I think he's got an OPS of about 850 or 900. He's got 15 home runs across Arizona and the Hill City now. You think also about guys like Gary Fernandez, who has played well, Luis De La Cruz, who has been hitting the ball well, Jonathan Martinez, who stepped up. I mean, you look back to right before the All-Star break, you lose a guy like Unaker Kotsaris, and that can spiral a team. He was batting .320. He was one of the best hitters in the league. And if you look at the metrics, a lot of people are saying he might be the best hitter in all of the Guardians organization right now, which is pretty crazy to think about. But you lose him and you think, oh no, what's going to happen? The offense never missed a beat. And if anything, they ticked up a notch. And so it's been fun to watch. I think that's momentum that's going to carry. We've gotten through the midseason slump offensively. And I think they're back to full swing.
Jason Pro, broadcaster, Hill City Howlers, with us here in the Fast Lane. Jason, good to be chatting with you. We really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Anytime, Ed.
Now to NASCAR.
Eric Schneck, frontstretch.com, with us here in the Fast Lane. Eric, great to be speaking with you. There are 2 big takeaways and then 1 minor takeaway from the racing at Indianapolis in the Brickyard 400 this past weekend. What can be done about the lack of passing since there were no passes for green no passes under green for the lead at all this past Sunday?
I think the only thing NASCAR can do to correct the no passing issue at Indianapolis would be to either A, change the car completely, or B, go to a different racetrack in Indianapolis. This has been an issue year in and year out with the next-gen car at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The road course at Indianapolis wasn't too popular. The NASCAR fans surely don't like seeing no green flag passes. My opinion, send them over to the small track IRP and put on a show for everybody.
I like the idea of that. I don't think it's likely to happen because of the nostalgia of the Brickyard 400, which begs the next question. This is more nostalgia, or you're racing there because it's a motorsports holy grail. I am probably picking a fight with Wednesday's guest from frontstretch.com, Mike Neff, and even suggesting this. Is the solution shorten the race so at least the urgency gets bumped up?
I think anything would be better than what we saw yesterday. Yes, we saw Corey Heim, young upstart rookie, win in only his 8th start this season. That's a fantastic story, but no green flag passes at a racetrack historical as Indianapolis Motor Speedway, considering the spectacle they put on for Indy cars. It's a shame. If they want to make it the Brickyard 300, so it lights the fire under these drivers, by all means, have at it.
Pivoting off of that to the person who actually won the race itself, Corey Heim.
Yeah.
It's easy to say it's Heim time right now, but not only that, what does it say to you that you've got drivers like Joey Logano and others who are almost tipping their cap saying, yeah, it's an inevitability. This guy's going to be a force to be reckoned with, even now in a part-time schedule, much less when he comes on full-time.
NASCAR fans are going to be eating good here for the next couple of years with the likes of Corey Heim and Carson Hocevar leading the way. The ability that Corey Heim has shown in the Cup Series, driving around these veterans who have been in the series for 10 years, like a Joey Logano, has been absolutely astonishing. There has been no driver to win 2 starts as quickly as Corey Heim has. And what makes this even more impressive is that this is a part-time team. This isn't like the 6723 XI car is out there every week with different drivers. No, it's part-time just as much as Corey is. Fantastic showing from Corey. And us NASCAR fans will be eating good for years to come.
It's going to be a lot of fun, especially considering these are all big rivals. Hocevar, Heim, and Ty Gibbs, who had a chance to win if he wasn't thrown off on the sequence of pits yesterday. Last one for you, Eric. How alarming is it that this is now the 3rd consecutive race Hendrick Motorsports they have failed to have a driver finish in the top 10?
I would say pretty alarming. Yes, Larson was looking really good in stage 1 until he had his incident. And then Chase Elliott had his incident where he got into the wall after some contact with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. The best finishing Hendrick car from yesterday was Alex Bowman in 19th. This is uncharacteristic for Hendrick Motorsports. You don't see teams like Joe Gibbs having this problem. Issues are abound. Things need to change. I'm not sure if that's the Chevrolet in general or with Hendrick, but definitely very uncharacteristic like for Hendrick Motorsports.
Eric Schneck, frontstretch.com. Eric is over. What a clever Twitter handle as well. And he's with us here in the Fast Lane. We're at Fast Lane Ed Lane, however you listen to podcasts, as well as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and catch us live, VTRN Sports app. Eric, good to chat with you. We appreciate your time and look forward to ribbing your colleague Mike Neff on Wednesday.
Please. I'll be tuned in listening.
Oh, can't wait for that one. Meanwhile,
And last but not least, or maybe least, the Virginia Tech Hokies.
well, you may think things are a little bit chaotic over in Blacksburg with all the changes. Chris Coleman, TechSideline.com, is with us in the Fast Lane. Chris, it's chaotic, but it's not nearly as messy as what's going on in the ACC down in Chapel Hill, is it?
No, yeah. I mean, generally any good publicity is any publicity at all is good publicity, but I don't think so in this case when you're suspending your GM and apparently there's an investigation going on into your program. And it hadn't been that long ago that they got in trouble for other things. So probably not a fun time to be a Carolina football fan right now. And the Bill Belichick era continues to have more storylines than wins so far.
I mean, if you're a Tech fan, this may sound ridiculous. If you're a Virginia Tech fan, do you want this era to keep going just because it's one less contender in the ACC? Or do you not like it because it's one less strong, especially big brand, which does factor into the attention and potential economics of the matter?
I think what the bigger issue for the ACC is the top 4 brands. Obviously, Miami was back last year. Whether that remains to be seen, we'll find out this year. We need Miami, Virginia Tech, Clemson, and Florida State to all be good at the same time. And if that happens, you can afford for UNC to be down. Sure. If you can get those top 4 rolling on all cylinders or most cylinders, and you've got some solid teams, like Georgia Tech, behind that, living up to their potential, NC State living up to their potential. There's enough teams in this league where if they operate to their potential, it doesn't really matter what UNC does, but you've got to get to that point.
Chris Coleman, TechSideline.com, is with us here in the Fast Lane. W227BG Timberlake, WVGMA Milledgeport, WMNA Gretna, Danville, Chatham. Shout out to Chris Coleman, as well as Southside Virginia and the VTRN Sports app. Chris, you had a great article about where Virginia Tech happens to be ranked at this juncture with their recruiting class. If you project this now and what they might add / lose, do you expect them to be in the similar ballpark of about 15 to 25-ish when signing day actually approaches toward the end of the year?
That's probably accurate. They're not going to take extra players in this class just to take extra players. They've already got 26. They don't need to take any more. They're going to wait it out and see if there are any guys who improve as seniors. They're going to see if anybody gets cold feet. You know, these days coaches start getting fired in September, as Virginia Tech fans know full well. And coaching searches can last most of the season, and then players become available before signing day that you didn't think would become available. So, you know, it's always wise to save a few spots because you're going to have an opportunity to add players late. You don't want to fill up completely. So they're not going to take guys just for the sake of it. So, yeah, I could foresee Virginia Tech's class getting better depending on who becomes available.
You mentioned potential availability because of firing. How much are you prioritizing in terms of other programs outside of Blacksburg, monitoring Maryland, not just because they play Tech in the early portion of the season, but also North Carolina and South Carolina because of the regional ties in a multitude of areas, including recruiting Virginia Tech's footprint, as far as potential coaching openings at Maryland, North Carolina, and South Carolina, and how that could impact Virginia Tech's options over the course of the season?
Yeah, those are the main three that come to mind. I think when you look at Loxley at Maryland, you know, had a good start to his tenure, but 4-8 each of the last 2 years. They kind of seem like they're running out of gas a little bit. And James Franklin has been kind of a Maryland specialist in recruiting during his career. So, yeah, I definitely got my eye on that. You know, Shane had a tough year last year. He plays in a tough league. I think overall he's done a solid job down there, but, you know, that's a tough job to hold on to. And then obviously, you know, Carolina needs to cut ties with Belichick, man. I'd be floored if that worked out. But also, that you know, they put themselves in a position. I don't know what his buyout is, but you know, maybe they're happy they're getting investigated. Maybe they could fire him at the end of the season, like for cause or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. So I think you always have an idea, especially amongst those other regional programs, which players in each of their recruiting class would I take? Which ones, like, is there a position? Like, there are some guys you take no matter what, right? Like if Chris Whitehead had second thoughts about LSU, you take him no matter what. But do you need an extra wide receiver? So which of those schools has wide receivers in their class that you would take? And I think any staff these days would be doing their homework on that, especially Franklin. You know, he's a master of things like that. So I definitely see Virginia Tech adding to their class. Do I know that it would come from any of those programs? I don't, but it's always a possibility.
We'll kind of piggyback off that question with Chris Coleman of TechSideline.com here in the Fast Lane. You've referenced Maryland and Mike Loxley and the expertise in that area. Am I off base for thinking if I'm Virginia Tech, I'm kind of monitoring South Carolina because Shane Beamer has recruited the Commonwealth of Virginia very well, brought a lot of high-end talent to Columbia, and there might be ripe to get guys that have multiple years of eligibility left in a good bounce-back spot for the Hokies. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think South Carolina is always a program that, you know, that recruits well, especially under Shane. And they share a lot of the same recruiting areas. You know, I'm sitting here looking at their commit list right now, and their top 3 players are from North Carolina. A couple of guys from Cornelius, a guy from Fayetteville. They've got a 4-star wide receiver from Pennsylvania, Rollsville, North Carolina, Richmond, Virginia, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, you know, a bunch of guys who are in Virginia Tech's region, you know, so I'm sure, you know, Virginia Tech offered a number of these players. So I think Virginia Tech would already have a full scouting report on all these guys and would probably know where they stand with these guys if they were to decommit. But, you know, you've got to sit back and see how the season goes. That is worth monitoring, much like it is the insight from Chris Coleman at TechSideline.com. Chris, we'll wrap it up on this one. Are the real takeaways for Virginia Tech fans from your article about where Virginia Tech happens to fit in the current recruiting ranking? Is the biggest takeaway the fact that they don't necessarily have the high-end talent of like a Miami, but it's clear that Franklin is helping and has a plan to upgrade the base of the talent, which is the starting spot? Yeah, he's got a couple of, a few unanimous 4-star recruits.
some consensus 4-star recruits and several guys that are 4-star recruits by one of the three services. So like maybe half this class or maybe a little more are recruited or 4-star recruits by at least one service. So I definitely see the overall talent level rising. I'm not big into the star rankings on an individual basis, but I am. But when you look at it on a macro level, I think if you recruit at this level year after year after year, then you put yourself in a better position to win. And I think that's what Franklin is in the process of doing at Tech.
Chris Coleman, TSL. That's his Twitter account, TechSideline.com, the way to connect with him. Chris, always love catching up with you. We are grateful for your time. Again, thank you for joining us, and we will chat again soon.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it, buddy.
Our pleasure. Chris Coleman, TechSideline.com. With us here to wrap up the Fast Lane, W227BG Timberlake, WVJM Lynchburg, WMNA, Gretna Danville Southside. Now on to Freddie and Harry in progress.
Feel like was a major